At the last minute of our City Hall wedding, Julian Montgomery's Celeste Hayes came to him with an abortion consent form, asking him to sign it. Without a word, he picked her up and returned to our new home. 2 hours later, he finally called. He told me he had gotten Celeste Hayes pregnant. He planned to have the baby and raise it as our own. I didn't respond. He sighed. Just then, Asher Sterling appeared at my doorstep. I grabbed him and we went to get married. After we got the marriage certificate, Asher Sterling was eager to get back to preparing for the wedding, not forgetting to pretentiously make a quick calculation. 3 days from now is an auspicious day for a wedding. If you back out, even a miracle wouldn't save you. I shook my head. How could Asher, who was always so honest and unassuming, suddenly become so aggressive and demanding, even threatening? As I stepped out of City Hall, Julian Montgomery's Bentley was already parked at the bottom of the steps. The car door swung open, and he yanked me inside. Why did you hang up on me? Huh? I stared out the window, silent. He irritably loosened his tie. Grace Fairfax, I've already explained, the baby was an accident. I didn't want this. Can't you just try to understand me? I didn't turn around, my voice calm. I can understand, but I don't accept it. His face instantly froze. What do you want me to do then? I didn't just go out and find some random woman. I'm a man with natural desires. I have urges. You always said you loved me, but you can't even forgive one accidental mistake. Grace Fairfax, when did you become so selfish? I clenched my fists tightly, suppressing the turmoil in my heart. Julian Montgomery, let's break up. I'll let you and Celeste Hayes be together. He froze, then forced out a self-deprecating laugh. 5 years of feelings, and you're just going to throw it away so carelessly. My chest felt tight, and I wanted to open the window for some air, but he roughly pressed the button to close it, sneering. I accepted your pursuit back then because I valued your generosity and ability to keep the Montgomery household in order now. It seems you're just petty and narrow-minded. Think whatever you want. If you want to break up, then break up. Don't expect me to kneel and beg you. Julian Montgomery has no shortage of women. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Celeste Hayes' personalized ringtone, a hand I can't hold. A friend anonymous from now on, but my persistence remains persistent. I closed my eyes, leaning weakly against the seat back. For the past 2 years, Celeste Hayes often called him late at night, crying and telling him she was scared. She was afraid of the empty house, afraid that his adoptive brother William Montgomery would die, and even more afraid that Julian Montgomery would abandon her after getting married. Julian Montgomery would always rush over to comfort her. I tried to stop him from going, but he sharply retorted, "She's my sister-in-law. We're family." Grace Fairfax, what kind of filthy thoughts are in your head? Don't you find it disgusting? He didn't know that every time he went, Celeste Hayes would send me a video to report their activities. Sister-in-law. I'm reporting this proactively because I don't want you to misunderstand. Women shouldn't make it difficult for other women, and what was the result? In the video, she was happily nestled in Julian Montgomery's arms, while he gently hummed a song to comfort her to sleep. That kind of tenderness I had never received. Even when I had a fever of 104 degrees Fahrenheit, he would just tell me to drink plenty of fluids. He said I was too pampered by the Fairfax family and should exercise more, but every time he went hiking outdoors, he would only take Celeste Hayes, because Celeste Hayes was experienced. He found joy in exploring with her. Unlike me, who would only slow him down, my heart clenched, and I instinctively looked at him. He answered the phone, and his whole demeanor softened, a smile touching his lips. Celeste Hayes, however, sounded very downcast. I've thought about it a lot. I'll keep the baby, but I absolutely won't live in your house, no matter how much of a mess I, Celeste Hayes, am. I still understand what it means to be lacking any decency. I can't go back to the Montgomery family. I plan to go to the Serenity Monastery for a period of spiritual retreat. Once the baby is born, I'll join a convent. Julian Montgomery roared. Don't you dare. Celeste Hayes, try stepping foot in that monastery. Chapter 2. Julian Montgomery suddenly realized his outburst and forcefully suppressed his anger, saying, "Sister-in-law, if you join a convent, what will happen when my brother wakes up? Won't you wait for him? Our child will be born without a mother. Can you bear that?" Celeste Hayes' voice choked. "It's been 2 years. William won't wake up. As for the child, just tell him Grace Fairfax is his mother. That's what you were planning anyway." Julian Montgomery gave me a cold glance. The Fairfax family is always involved in all those old superstitions. I've changed my mind. I don't want her to corrupt the child. I sneered, snatching the phone directly. Celeste Hayes, I have no interest in being a stepmother, and I've seen enough of your drama. Let's make things clear today. I'm out of this disgusting love triangle. From the other end of the line came frantic sobs, and Celeste Hayes quickly hung up. The next second, Julian Montgomery violently grabbed my hair, pressing my face hard against the car window, his voice sinister. Grace Fairfax, what the hell is wrong with you? My face was distorted from the pressure, my lips pressed against the cold glass, unable to make a sound. I could only struggle desperately. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror, hesitating before speaking. Mr. Montgomery, your wife was just speaking in anger. It's not your place to interfere. Julian Montgomery sharply interrupted. I've indulged her too much these past few years. She's forgotten her basic manners. Saying this, he increased the force. Grace Fairfax, when we get home, you'd better apologize properly to my sister-in-law. The car window pressed against my cheekbones, aching, and my breathing grew increasingly difficult. Just then, at a red light, passengers on the nearby bus all raised their phones. Perhaps in a few minutes, my most unsightly and humiliated image would appear in the social news across all major platforms. The Fairfax family's esteemed reputation and Grandpa Henry's lifelong integrity, all would be ruined because of me. I trembled all over, nodding with difficulty. Julian Montgomery finally released his grip. Seeing the red marks on my face, he reached out to touch them. Grace Fairfax, you truly are too pampered. I instinctively recoiled from him, curling up in the corner of the car door. He suddenly pulled a mocking smile, playing pitiful again. Then he casually curled his lips into a smile, saying in a tone used to coax a child, all right, I was wrong just now. I made Miss Fairfax suffer, okay? I bit my lower lip hard, not releasing until I tasted blood. Whatever makes you happy. He furiously kicked the front seat, muttering under his breath, crazy, you're just asking for trouble. As soon as we reached the doorstep, Julian Montgomery dragged me towards the villa. In the entryway, Celeste Hayes was dragging a suitcase, about to leave. Her usually smooth long hair had been cut unevenly, and she was wiping away tears as she walked. Julian Montgomery strode forward and embraced her, his fingers trembling as he touched her hair. His heart ached for her, almost overflowing from his eyes. Sister-in-law, please don't cry. I've already disciplined Grace Fairfax. She speaks without thinking. Don't take it to heart. Celeste Hayes suddenly broke free from his embrace and violently knelt before me, kowtowing heavily. Sister-in-law, please, I beg you to convince Julian to let me get an abortion and join a convent. I'm sorry to his brother, to you, to everyone. This child is a torment. Julian Montgomery panicked and embraced her, but she fiercely pounded her abdomen. My child and I deserve to die. When William wakes up in the future, please don't tell him about this. In his heart, I want to be a pure woman. She made me laugh in exasperation. Let whoever wants to watch this melodrama watch it. I rolled my eyes and turned to leave. Grace Fairfax, apologize. Julian Montgomery, holding a tear-streaked Celeste Hayes, knelt on the ground, staring coldly at me, as if I were the one who had committed a grave sin. I scoffed softly. I'm sorry. It's all my fault, okay? Chapter 3. Celeste Hayes froze, then cried even louder. Julian Montgomery's face darkened, and he dragged me into the bathroom. He snatched the razor from the sink and raised it towards my head. My sister-in-law was so angry with you that she cut off 10 years of her hair. Since you refused to repent, you should pay the same price. My heart trembled. Was he going to shave my head? I struggled desperately, but he pinned my hands behind my back against the wall, the razor buzzing near my head. Julian Montgomery, you've lost my mind. Let go of me. He spoke coldly. You forced my hand, watching strand after strand of my hair fall. Tears streamed down my face as I pleaded in a trembling voice. Julian Montgomery, please, I'll apologize to her. I'll apologize properly. Julian Montgomery suddenly stopped, tossing me away as if I were something dirty. Why are you crying? It's just a few strands of hair. It'll grow back. I looked at my ridiculous reflection in the vanity mirror, with messy, uneven hair and swollen eyes. I looked like a clown. I couldn't help but laugh aloud. Celeste Hayes approached me, feigning concern. Sister-in-law, it's all right. I can introduce you to a good hairstylist. Just think of it as a new look. I bowed deeply, my voice ringing out clearly. Sister-in-law, I was wrong. My thoughts were dirty, and I misunderstood you both. You and Julian are innocent, and I apologize properly to you. When I looked up, I saw Julian Montgomery anxiously watching Celeste Hayes' expression. Only after confirming she wasn't crying anymore did he let out a sigh of relief. Julian Montgomery picked up his phone and tapped a few times, his tone flat. "I've transferred $1 million to you. Go get your hair fixed tomorrow." I looked at the deposit notification, silently gripping my phone. Okay, 5 years of a relationship couldn't earn me a single word of concern from him. Yet a casual remark from Celeste Hayes could make him casually spend $1 million. My compliance seemed to soften his expression, and he even began to comment, "Just get a shoulder-length bob. Don't try to emulate my sister-in-law's long, straight black hair. You don't have that kind of elegance." Celeste Hayes lightly chuckled, covering her mouth. "Julian, how could sister-in-law intentionally copy me? It's just that we have similar tastes, right?" My whole body stiffened. It suddenly dawned on me that to please him, I had unconsciously started imitating Celeste Hayes' style of dress. "Can I leave now?" I asked softly. He cast a dismissive glance at me. "Go change your clothes and come with me to see my parents. You know what to say." I nodded silently and walked straight to the bedroom. As soon as I pushed the door open, I abruptly stopped. All my clothes were shredded, and my wedding photos were stomped on and thrown onto the bed. Celeste Hayes followed behind me, her voice tinged with feigned remorse. "I'm so sorry, sister-in-law. My bipolar disorder suddenly flared up just now. By the time I came to my senses, it was already like this." I scoffed, interrupting her. "Celeste Hayes, you can have an episode anywhere. Why did you specifically choose my bedroom?" Her eyes immediately reddened. "Julian told me to rest here. The other rooms haven't been cleaned." Julian Montgomery couldn't stand to see her suffer even a little injustice, so he directly tossed a black card at my feet. "That's enough for you to buy clothes from the entire mall. In the past 5 years, his birthday gifts to me had never exceeded 3 digits. He said the Montgomery family was very wealthy, but he hoped our relationship would be pure and untainted by money. Today, to be so extravagant for Celeste Hayes, it was the first time I felt what it was like to be part of a wealthy family." I bent down to pick up the black card, smiling. "Thank you for your generosity, Mr. Montgomery." Julian Montgomery looked at me with disdain. "Grace Fairfax, if I had known that money could buy me off you, I wouldn't have bothered trying to coax you. A young lady raised by the Fairfax family shouldn't have this demeanor." I tightly clutched the card, giving up all pretense and smiling brightly. "You misjudged me then. I'll do anything for money." I relentlessly pursued him for 2 years. Wasn't it all for money? His Adam's apple bobbed, his chest heaving. Disgusting. Julian Montgomery dragged Celeste Hayes out, slamming the door shut. Celeste Hayes asked, puzzled, "Julian, how could you be with someone like Grace Fairfax? Her family background and character are both beneath you." Julian Montgomery was vexed. "It's all my father. He insisted on believing the Fairfax family elders' old prophecies, saying that the Montgomery family had a looming disaster and needed someone with a destined protector to resolve it. And it just happens to be Grace Fairfax." Celeste Hayes asked suspiciously, "Couldn't it be that the Fairfax family set this up?" Julian Montgomery sneered. "There was no other way. My father was utterly convinced otherwise. Why would I have agreed to Grace Fairfax? She relentlessly pursued me for 2 years, average-looking and constantly causing drama. If it were truly effective, my brother and I wouldn't have been in that car accident 2 years ago." I leaned against the door, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. I tried to wipe them away, but the more I wiped, the more they fell. Chapter 4. I fell in love with Julian Montgomery at first sight, simply because he smiled at me during a school debate competition. Opponent, please answer directly. Yes or no? He was strikingly handsome and noble in demeanor. I, dumbfounded, replied. Opponent, yes. I like you. The entire hall immediately erupted in cheers and jeers. Julian Montgomery, however, scowled. "I don't like overly forward girls." From then on, I became the school's laughingstock, Julian Montgomery's obsessive pursuer. His fate wasn't calculated by Grandpa Henry. Grandpa Henry could interpret energies, but fortune-telling wasn't his specialty. When I decided to give up on him, I secretly asked Master Eli to look into our compatibility. Master Eli's brows furrowed. "You two were meant to cross paths, but not to stay. Being with him could ensure him a long life, but your own life would be difficult." Without hesitation, I had Grandpa Henry reveal this information to Mr. Montgomery when he was interpreting energies for him. Unexpectedly, Julian Montgomery instead became convinced that the Fairfax family had set him up, forcing him to comply. I haphazardly tied my uneven hair into a messy bun, barely covering the shaved spots, silently. I followed Julian Montgomery to the Montgomery estate. In the car, my phone vibrated. Asher Sterling sent a message. Grace Fairfax, my senior brother just performed a divination for you, saying your fortune has shifted. And joy will follow sorrow. See, what did I tell you? Marrying me is definitely the right choice. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. Asher, Master Eli said you practiced for years without much spiritual progress, mostly just gained seniority. Asher Sterling immediately replied. Can't I just be a late bloomer, suddenly figuring things out? Asher Sterling suddenly figuring things out? Of course not. He was the only son of the Sterling family. Frail and sickly as a child, he was sent to Whispering Pines Retreat to be fostered for 20 years. He achieved nothing in his spiritual practice but managed to make the Sterling family's businesses flourish. Becoming the wealthiest man in Northfield, I merely had a nominal position at Whispering Pines Retreat because Grandpa Henry wanted me to learn more skills. I had never considered when Asher might have developed feelings for me. After all, the seniority was there, and I always felt it was an insurmountable hurdle. Until the day we were getting married at City Hall, seeing how awkwardly nervous he was, I suddenly felt that perhaps we could try. Julian Montgomery suddenly turned to examine me, his gaze lingering on my hair for a few seconds. Wearing your hair up like that, it looks decent. That was probably the highest compliment he had given me in all these years. Before, I might have been so happy I couldn't sleep all night, but now, not a single ripple stirred within my heart. Celeste Hayes gently chimed in. Sister-in-law, don't try to be like me. Be brave and be yourself. That's the most beautiful thing. I lowered my head, scrolling on my phone, not responding. Grace Fairfax. Julian Montgomery slammed the seat. Your sister-in-law complimented you. The least you could do is say thank you. My parents are already unhappy with you. If you show that demeanor in front of them later, don't even think about marrying into the Montgomery family. Then I'll get out now. I cut him off. Save them the trouble of getting angry? The car instantly fell silent. Julian Montgomery's face was ashen, and he didn't speak again until we reached the estate. As soon as I stepped over the threshold of the Montgomery estate, Mrs. Montgomery coldly reprimanded. Grace Fairfax, don't you know to greet us when you enter? This so-called greeting rule had always been applied only to me. Julian Montgomery and Celeste Hayes had always walked straight in. I completely ignored her. Mrs. Montgomery raised her hand to slap me, but Mr. Montgomery sharply stopped her. Enough. Julian said you were pregnant and wanted Celeste to take care of you. You have some nerve. I don't care, I said, shrugging indifferently. Julian Montgomery's eyes instantly turned terrifyingly cold. Mr. Montgomery turned to Celeste Hayes. The hospital just called. William is showing signs of waking up. Celeste must stay with him. Celeste Hayes's body swayed violently. Impossible, William, he clearly. Julian Montgomery immediately steadied her, his brows tightly furrowed. Didn't the doctors say my brother had no chance of waking up? How can this be? Mr. Montgomery raised a hand to wipe his reddened eyes. William lost his parents when he was little. After we adopted him, he always worked hard and managed the company impeccably. That child had a difficult life. If he hadn't desperately protected you in that car accident back then. His voice choked as he spoke. Now, finally he's waking up. Once he recovers, the company will be handed back to him. You're too conservative in your dealings. The Montgomery family needs to reach new heights. Julian Montgomery nodded blankly, walking out distraught. Celeste Hayes instantly lost her support and collapsed to the floor. Mrs. Montgomery suddenly called out to him. The Sterling family's young master who has been cultivating at Whispering Pines Retreat is holding his wedding in 3 days. Remember to attend on time and make more connections. She glanced sideways at me. Remember to dress appropriately. Don't wear that messy hair and embarrass the Montgomery family. I meekly replied. Okay, Auntie. No manners. Mrs. Montgomery immediately frowned. You still can't call me Mom by now? I ignored her and turned to leave. Outside, Julian Montgomery drove off in a cloud of dust. It was clear he was rushing to the company to make arrangements. How could he willingly surrender power to the adoptive brother he had always envied? I took out my phone and sent the abortion consent form of Celeste Hayes, photographed at City Hall, to Mrs. Montgomery. At the same time, I dialed Asher Sterling's number. Asher, how are the wedding preparations coming along? Chapter 5. Didn't we say we'd try on wedding dresses? Are you coming to the Montgomery estate to pick me up? Asher Sterling's car came to a stop, and Mrs. Montgomery stumbled out, chasing after it. Her face as pale as paper, she desperately clung to the car window. completely oblivious to Asher Sterling in the driver's seat, and demanded tremblingly, "Grace Fairfax, what's the meaning of the document you sent me? How could Celeste be pregnant? William is still lying in the hospital. And this child, who is the father?" I maintained a polite smile. "Auntie, you should be asking Julian Montgomery and Celeste Hayes about that." Her body swayed, and she widened her eyes in disbelief. You explain yourself." I slowly raised the car window, leaving her with a meaningful smile. The moment the car pulled away, Mrs. Montgomery's figure, slumped on the ground in the rearview mirror, made me chuckle softly. This is just the beginning. The real show is just beginning. Asher Sterling swirled his wine glass, looking at me with a half smile. "Grace Fairfax, this is the real you, mischievous." I glanced at him. "Asher, aren't you the same? Sending wedding invitations to the Montgomery family so quickly? Are you trying to make a spectacle?" He suddenly reached out and half encircled me in the seat. When our eyes met, his Adam's apple visibly bobbed. "We're married now. Why haven't you started calling me Julian Montgomery?" His warm breath brushed against my face, and I uncomfortably recoiled slightly. Going directly from Asher to Julian Montgomery, isn't that too big a leap? How about we take it slow? He immediately lowered his gaze, his long eyelashes fluttering uneasily. "Grace Fairfax, was our City Hall wedding an impulse decision? Do you actually not want to marry me?" Seeing his wronged expression, I instantly felt guilty. It was indeed an impulse. His eyes immediately welled up, looking as if he was about to cry. I hastily explained, "But I don't regret it. Marrying you is quite good." He still didn't believe me, closing his eyes, and a single tear rolled down. "You're just humoring me, Julian Montgomery," I blurted out. His eyes instantly lit up, and his voice was so gentle it could melt butter. "Wife?" I couldn't help but twitch my lips. How had I never noticed before that Asher was quite the actor? Upon learning that William Montgomery was about to wake up, Julian Montgomery felt a strong surge of resentment. He wouldn't simply hand over the company to William Montgomery. From childhood, his parents always had William Montgomery on their lips. William is the Montgomery family's lucky star. The company will be handed over to William in the future. As for him, there was always only one cold instruction: just don't ruin the family fortune. Why? He clearly worked hard too, and wanted to contribute to the family, but his parents didn't even give him a chance. They simply ruled him out. When William Montgomery was in the car accident and became vegetative, a flicker of relief even crossed his mind. Finally, no one would compete with him for the company. Even the woman William Montgomery loved most could only be toyed with by him. Now, as long as he could get those old foxes in the company to transfer the shares to him, even if William Montgomery woke up, it would be useless. At the banquet, he toasted countless rounds, drinking until he vomited, but those old foxes still wouldn't budge. Julian Montgomery gave his assistant a look. Soon, the private room door was pushed open, and a group of heavily made-up women swayed in. A cold sneer played on his lips. Tomorrow, the shares would be his. A woman was about to sit on his lap when Julian Montgomery abruptly stood up to avoid her, his face filled with disgust. He stumbled out of the private room, leaned against the corridor wall, and lit a cigarette. Except for Grace Fairfax, the proximity of any woman made him feel nauseous. Of course, Celeste Hayes was an exception. After all, toying with his brother's woman, he was willing to endure it to spite William Montgomery. Amidst the swirling smoke, he finally remembered Grace Fairfax, whom he had forgotten at the estate. At a.m., his phone screen was glaringly blank. No missed calls, no flood of texts before. Her calls would ring precisely at p.m. every night, urging him to come home. Back then, he always found it annoying. But now, for some reason, he felt an inexplicable emptiness. I'll just coax her a bit." He irritably stubbed out his cigarette, about to dial. His phone suddenly vibrated, and Mr. Montgomery's furious voice came through. "Julian Montgomery, what the hell is wrong with you?" Chapter 6. Julian Montgomery rushed to the hospital room, and as soon as he entered, Mr. Montgomery kicked him to the ground. He knelt on the floor, still reeling, as Mr. Montgomery's fists rained down on him. "Beast, how dare you touch your own sister-in-law? How can you face William? Loafing around all day is bad enough, but now you dare to do something so scandalous." Julian Montgomery looked up, seeing Mrs. Montgomery's disappointed face on the bed and Celeste Hayes wiping away tears with her head down. He suddenly laughed. "William Montgomery is already in a vegetative state. What's wrong with Celeste Hayes and I being mutually agreed?" Our child is the true Montgomery bloodline. William Montgomery is just an adopted son. Why are you so biased towards him?" Mr. Montgomery was trembling with rage, leaning against the wall to keep from collapsing. Celeste Hayes suddenly shook her head in panic. "Julian, don't talk nonsense. You were the one who forced me. You even threatened me with William, saying if I didn't agree, you'd cut off his medical expenses." "Shut up!" Julian Montgomery roared, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Who was it who kept crying and calling me in the middle of the night for company these past 2 years? Who was it who kept slipping into my arms in a silk nightgown?" "Celeste Hayes, you shamelessly threw yourself at me, eagerly trying to seduce me. Do you think I wanted to? Every time I touched you, I felt sick to my stomach." Celeste Hayes suddenly stopped crying, picking up the fruit knife from the bedside table and pressing it against her wrist. "Mom and Dad, please, I beg you to do something for me. I can't argue with him. I deserve to die. I'm a sinner. Let me and the baby die and be buried with William." "Nonsense, Mr." Montgomery snatched the knife from her, tiredly rubbing his temples. "Celeste, you go back to your family in France to rest and prepare for the baby. Once the child is born, say it's adopted. This matter, we'll pretend it never happened. William must never know, understand?" "Mr." Montgomery turned to Julian Montgomery, his voice low and stern. "I don't care what motives you had for forcing your sister-in-law, but you must put an end to your sordid thoughts now. You no longer need to concern yourself with the company. Marry Grace Fairfax immediately, and after the wedding, go to Silverwood to manage your mother's vineyard. Don't return without my permission." Julian Montgomery sneered inwardly. This was his wonderful father, exiling his own son for the sake of an adopted one. It didn't matter. After tomorrow, the company would be his. He lowered his gaze, concealing the calculation in his eyes. "Okay, Dad." Mrs. Montgomery let out a sigh of relief, adding softly, "Julian, the Sterling family's wedding banquet is the day after tomorrow. Remember to bring Grace Fairfax along to meet people. It will be our Montgomery family's official acknowledgement of her." Julian Montgomery paused. The Sterling family wedding banquet. He had to go. Once he took over the company, he would definitely need to collaborate with the Sterling family. Since he no longer had to deal with Celeste Hayes, it was time to give Grace Fairfax her rightful status. He'd get the marriage certificate tomorrow. The wedding itself could be prepared slowly. After all, he might be too busy with company matters lately. Thinking this, he immediately turned his car around and headed home, passing Grace Fairfax's favorite local cafe. He even specifically bought a portion for breakfast. But the moment he opened the door, his smile froze. She dared to stay out all night. Julian Montgomery furiously dialed her number, only to find all his contact methods had been blocked. A trace of panic suddenly surged in his heart. Had he gone too far yesterday? Just then, Celeste Hayes called, sobbing, "Julian, I said that just now to protect our baby. Just take the blame for me." Julian Montgomery decisively hung up the phone. That two-faced woman, could she ever speak a single truth? Chapter 7. After trying on wedding dresses yesterday, Asher Sterling took me to the mountain retreat. He said Master Eli missed me. I pursed my lips, too lazy to expose him. After all, I had just seen Master Eli the day before yesterday. And the old man had shaken his head, saying, "Of all people to choose, why Julian Montgomery, that jinx. It's clear he's destined for a difficult life." Asher Sterling most likely wanted Master Eli to check again, to confirm if my fortune had truly changed. But the moment Master Eli saw me, he burst into laughter. "Excellent. All bad luck has vanished, and good fortune awaits." Then he suddenly asked mysteriously, "The vegetative state patient from the Montgomery family should be waking up, right?" I said, surprised, "Master Eli, how did you know?" "The future is not for me to reveal." He waved his hand, giving Asher Sterling a meaningful look, turning his head. Asher Sterling leaned close and whispered in my ear, "When you were with Julian Montgomery, all his misfortune was diverted to William." As he spoke, his lips almost brushed my earlobe. My ears immediately felt hot. "Just talk. Why are you so close?" Asher Sterling looked wronged. "Can't a husband and wife whisper?" I mumbled guiltily. "I guess so." As if triumphant, he suddenly lightly bit my earlobe. "How about this?" I stared blankly at him. This honest and unassuming Asher, he wasn't pretending to be innocent all along, was he? I suddenly realized I had unconsciously been manipulated by him. After staying a night at Whispering Pines Retreat, I felt refreshed the next day. As I was eating the tofu pudding Asher Sterling had peeled for me, my phone suddenly vibrated. It was from Julian Montgomery. Using an unknown number, Grace Fairfax, where are you? I couldn't find you at home or with the Fairfax family. I went too far this time. I apologize to you. Please don't be mad anymore. Let's go get married at City Hall today. I'm waiting for you at City Hall. Reply when you see this. I miss you a lot. I simply turned off my phone. I naturally drank a spoonful of the tofu pudding Asher Sterling offered me. I asked with a smile, how about we stay on the mountain for 2 more days? No need to rush back yet. He knowingly pinched my cheek. All right, we'll leave tomorrow night. Julian Montgomery waited all day at City Hall, from patiently coaxing me with messages in the morning to frantic exasperation by noon, and finally despair by evening. Grace Fairfax, I'm about to lose my mind. Please answer my call. I'm begging you. I curved my lips into a smile and casually snapped a photo of my marriage certificate cover, sending it to him. My phone immediately vibrated wildly. Whose marriage certificate is that? Don't tell me it's yours. Who are you with? Is there another man with you? Answer me. I looked at Asher Sterling, who was fanning me to ward off mosquitoes. He was dressed in a plain white robe, ethereal, like someone from another realm. No one would ever guess this was the wealthiest man in Northfield. He suddenly winked. Wife, you're looking at me like you want to devour me. How about I satisfy you on our wedding night? It was only then that I realized what honest and unassuming. He was clearly playing the fool to get what he wanted. Don't think I didn't notice the look they exchanged when Master Eli mentioned William Montgomery. Asher Sterling must have pulled some trick, keeping it from me, seeing I wasn't taking the bait. He suddenly reached out and lightly touched my messy bun. How about I help you fix it? Just like when we were little. My nose suddenly stung. I had deliberately tied my hair into a messy bun and hadn't let it down. He had noticed it all along. The pent-up grievances instantly burst forth. I clung tightly to his waist, sobbing uncontrollably. He gently patted my back, murmuring under his breath in a voice he thought I couldn't hear, "That idiot Julian Montgomery, his end is near." Chapter 8. The wedding was exceedingly grand and spectacular. The Sterling family had virtually invited all of Northfield's business elite, reserving the most luxurious hotel. As I slowly stepped out of the wedding car, 99 Rolls-Royce Phantoms were lined up behind me, drawing crowds of onlookers. Even people outside the hotel couldn't help but gather and discuss. Mr. Sterling has either been at Whispering Pines Retreat or busy with business all these years, and no woman has ever appeared by his side. How did he suddenly get married? I asked people in the industry, and no one knew. The invitations didn't even state who the bride would be. I wonder which family's daughter is so fortunate. Meanwhile, Julian Montgomery was still relentlessly sending me messages. Grace Fairfax, I've searched the entire city and can't find you. I'm truly about to lose my mind. Please, will you answer me? I'm here at the Sterling family wedding banquet today. You should come too. My parents approve of you now. They want me to introduce you to high society. I replied with a cold smile. I'm already here. I'll appear when the wedding begins. He replied instantly with a crying emoji. I'll wait for you. I'm in the last row of the guest seating. Asher Sterling glanced at my phone and teased. My wife is a ruthless character. Good thing I always do what you say. I narrowed my eyes and shook my fist. You'd better always remember that. As the wedding march began, the doors to the banquet hall slowly opened. I walked arm in arm with my father, step by step, towards the stage, seeing Asher Sterling standing at the end of the red carpet. His eyes red with excitement. My nose also stung. Suddenly, Julian Montgomery stumbled onto the red carpet, blocking my way. His face was filled with shock. Grace Fairfax, are you today's bride? He suddenly let out two exaggerated laughs. Are you kidding me? This must be part of the wedding planner's scheme, right? Where's the real bride? He craned his neck, peering behind me. Is she hiding behind the door? I looked at him coldly. Get out of the way. I am the only bride today. Julian Montgomery's face instantly turned ashen, and he swayed precariously. He suddenly roared, his face contorted with rage. You got your marriage certificate with Asher Sterling. In just these 2 days? You married another man at City Hall? I gently curved my lips. Wrong. It was 3 days ago. The very day you left City Hall holding Celeste Hayes. You see, I don't necessarily need you. Are you doing this just to spite me? He shrieked hysterically. No, I said, staring coldly at him. I've just completely given up on you. He stood there frozen, shaking his head like a madman. Impossible, this is impossible. Just as I was about to walk forward, he suddenly lunged, clinging desperately to my leg. kneeling on the ground and sobbing uncontrollably. Grace Fairfax, I love you. Celeste Hayes and I were just to get back at William Montgomery. He took everything from me since childhood, so I wanted to toy with his woman. Celeste Hayes and I are completely over. From now on, I'll only be devoted to you. Please, give me another chance. I kicked him away in disgust. How disgusting. Julian Montgomery tried to scramble back up, but Asher Sterling kicked him off the stage. Asher Sterling. Julian Montgomery scrambled to his feet, his face contorted in a vicious sneer. Don't think the Sterling family can control everything in Northfield. Stealing my fiancé? I'm not done with you. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Julian Montgomery, you dare lay a hand on my Julian Montgomery? Her words instantly froze him. He lay sprawled on the edge of the stage, tears mixed with dust streaking his face. Like an abandoned stray dog. Grace Fairfax, our 5 years together. It means nothing compared to this man you've known for 3 days. His words almost made me laugh with exasperation. He truly never paid attention to the people or things around me for 5 years. He hadn't even known I was a disciple of Whispering Pines Retreat, or that Asher of the Sterling family existed. Asher Sterling slowly knelt down, a dangerous smile playing on his lips. Julian Montgomery, do you really think you're worthy of the Sterling family flexing its power over you? I wouldn't want to get my hands dirty. He snapped his fingers, and a dozen bodyguards immediately rushed in and tied Julian Montgomery up like a mummy. At the entrance, a man with a pale face and sinister eyes was leisurely smoking a cigarette. The moment he saw him, Julian Montgomery suddenly began to tremble violently. Brother. The man didn't look at him, but simply nodded to Asher Sterling. Thank you. Asher Sterling took my hand and walked towards the center of the stage. I knew Julian Montgomery was completely finished this time. William Montgomery was known as a ruthless character who holds grudges, but he was exceptionally fiercely protective of his own. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up in a vegetative state years ago trying to save Julian Montgomery. After the wedding, Asher Sterling finally told me the truth. William Montgomery had actually woken up 3 days ago. He should have woken up earlier, but Celeste Hayes had been secretly injecting tranquilizers into him for months. He had heard all their flirting by his bedside. It turned out that as soon as William Montgomery woke up, he contacted Asher Sterling, promising the Sterling family 30% of the company's shares, so the Sterling family could keep the old foxes of the Montgomery family in check. That's why that day, Asher Sterling, toying with my wedding ring, I rushed to City Hall to stop you, and made up an excuse about it not being an auspicious day for getting married at City Hall. 2 days later, Celeste Hayes disappeared at the airport in France, and her body was later found in international waters. Julian Montgomery got into a car accident while driving under the influence, and became a vegetative state, perhaps out of consideration for Mr. and Mrs. Montgomery. William Montgomery ultimately spared his life, though he was as good as dead. Mischievous. I poked Asher Sterling's cheek. Laughing, he spread his hands innocently. Wife, I didn't do anything.